Back to the Culture Call on Praise 93.3 with L. Spencer Smith. Our desire is to reach and empower the community by discussing a cross-section of relevant topics from various perspectives that are essential to its growth and interpersonal connections. Be sure to save our call-in number, 205-752-4800. Be sure to install the free Praise 93.3 app so you can send L. Spencer Smith a message or topic idea. Search for WTSK in your app store.
This is the world premiere.
Great morning, great morning, great morning, precious people. That's right. This is the Culture Call with L. Spencer Smith right here on Praise 93.3 FM on this fantastic, fabulous Friday morning. That's right. It's the place where Tuscaloosa indeed meets the world. And for the next 2 hours, you all know it, from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m., we're going to be talking a little bit about everything from society to sports, education to economics, from religion to relationships. And of course, we are here to create a safe space. That's right. A safe space to have empowering, provocative, and sometimes controversial conversations. And guess what, y'all? You can call in or chat it up and be a part as we learn together right here on the Culture Call. Listen, also, as I do every morning, I want to encourage you, if you do not have the app, the free 99 app from Praise 93.3 FM, download it on your phone. How about you do that? Go to your Apple or your Android device and search it, and you can download it, and you can listen to the Culture Call and all the wonderful programs over here on Praise 93.3 all around the world. Doesn't matter where you are, from Japan to Moscow to whether you're in South Africa, wherever you are, right here in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, you can hear me right here on the Culture Call. And of course, as I tell you, go ahead and make sure that you do due diligence and let everybody know what's happening in your neck of the woods. Well, how can you do that? Well, you can make me your PR specialist for your free PR specialist for your events. All you have to do is send me an email, a promo email to culturecall.praise@gmail.com. That's culturecall.praise@gmail.com, and give me an opportunity to let everybody know what's happening in your church, your organization, your fraternity, your sorority, whatever is going on. We want to create some traffic so it can be known and want people to be a part of it. Why? Because we do it better when we do it together. We send a shout out. That's one of my elders, one of my senior elders at our church. He says that all the time to us. And he's recovering from back surgery, so we're praying for Pop Watts. Yeah, indeed. Absolutely. Listen, you can also give me a call at 205-752-4800. That's 205-752-4800. And you can call in and be a part of the show. That's right. Or you can do it on the app as well. We have the chat feature, and you can send it to the Culture Call chat, and I'm going to see it because I check it all the time just to make sure, I haven't missed any of your questions, your concerns, or your congratulations and your comments. So I am grateful every time that we have an opportunity to be on the air. And so I want you to be a part either by phone or by chat. Listen, I want you to sit back and relax and grab your coffee, whether it's Maxwell House or Starbucks. Y'all know what I like. Yeah. Get you some tea, chamomile or green, or you can get you some alkaline water, and let's get hydrated and get into the culture. Yes. Listen, I have some stuff I want to talk about today. Do you hear me? I have a subject that I know is going to be a blessing to some and might get on others' nerves. We're going to be talking about this morning. You ready? Drum roll, please. Dealing with toxic people. Dealing with toxic people. Do y'all know any toxic people that there's a personality, an attitude, a particular air about them that always has to, control, has to be in, they manipulate, they are emotionally unstable, emotionally unintelligent, and a lot of them are intelligent in terms of smarts, intellectually, but a lot of them are not emotionally intelligent, and especially they're not socially intelligent. They don't know how to deal with the nuances of interacting in relationships and you find this a little bit everywhere, right? You find it in politics, you find it in education, you find it in business, and oh my God, do you find it in church and religion, right? These toxic people, they come out of nowhere and they have a tendency to invade our lives. And so one of the things I've been really wanting to do in terms of what I've been wanting to talk about over the summer months, I've been trying to make sure that I have a particular order in which I want to do things leading up, especially into the fall when we get back, the kids go back to school and we get closer to within the, making decisions with regards to the political moment that we are encroaching upon in this country. And this whole idea of toxicity is very fascinating to me because I am not just people watcher, but I'm a people studier. I've always had to deal with people all of my life, in some level, in leadership, in teamwork, in projects, in relationships. People are an interesting phenomenon, right? And I say that as a person, right? As a part of the people collection. And one of the things that I have noticed, especially as I have grown up, is the varying personalities and perspectives and perceptions, most of all, of different kinds of people and why they do certain things and why they categorize things in a certain way, why they respond or react a certain way, why they carry themselves in a particular demeanor. And, all of that, affects the surrounding. All of that affects the environment. All of that affects the community that you're trying to build, right? But when you have people who are insecure, and we talked about insecurity a couple of weeks ago, when you have them who are always negative, they're always sick, or they are always in a place where they gaslight, they try to make you think things are true that are not true. We're going to be talking about that today. They try to make you, get on their side when they've been offended. They are masters of division. They are artisans of distraction and destruction and division. Yeah. They are manipulators to the highest point and the highest degree. They are critical. They are always judgmental. They are never happy unless somebody is sad or, watch this, under their control, right? And so I begin to look at that. And so, yeah, from an anthropological sense, from a people, a human kind of sense, and try to understand this particular context, especially as I am a pastor. And this is my 27th year pastoring a church. And I've had the front row opportunity to look at certain kind of people and varying degrees of what we would call toxicity, varying degrees of personality development, varying degrees of metamorphosis, how people change, how people transform, how their personalities, influence others, how they are either introverts or how they are extroverts, how they deal with certain significant moments, how they respond to, a certain phenomena that happens in life. So I've been able to study people in that particular area. And it's always been very interesting to me, the way and the nuances of how people handle certain things, right? And it's been fascinating and somewhat baffling to me that people not necessarily don't think like how I think, because all of us are individuals and we have the priority of thinking how we need to think about certain things. But how the result of their lives or their thought process always trends back to this one thing, that it's either my way or the highway, right? My way or the highway. And, when things are in the environment are toxic, people mark them off. We mark them off with a yellow sign or a neon green sign, and we put skull and crossbones on it to let everybody know that particular area is dangerous. And not only is it dangerous, it can contaminate you and cause you yourself to become sick or lose your life. And so we clearly mark toxic areas. We clearly mark toxic waste dumps. We clearly mark that in the environment. Why? Because, the ramifications of not marking toxic places and toxic environments can end up in a lawsuit, can end up again in death and just really have a catastrophic effect on those who are exposed to such toxic material. But one thing we do not do is we do not mark what? Toxic people. And what I have found is that toxic people do way much more damage than any nuclear plant, than anything radioactive, than anything environmental, because toxic people deal with this perpetual proximity. What does that mean? That means they're close to us. They are part of our families. They are part of the places where we work. We worship with toxic people in church, and we listen to toxic people to attempt to give us instructions and directions for our lives. We are sometimes married or in intimate relationships with toxic people. And just like the danger when we find toxic material in the environment or in laboratories, it's the same way when we engage with toxic people, that there is something that they give off that not only is contaminating, but it is also contagious. It is communicable, that when you begin to consistently expose your life to toxic people, it causes you yourself, the longer you stay in that kind of environment, that kind of communication, that kind of community, that kind of covenant, it turns you into a potentially toxic person, right? When you're living that kind of close to someone who is so disconnected from the interpersonal world that is around them, which simply means that they really do not care about others. They really do not care about the others' lives, about their happiness, about their joy. They care nothing about who you are and what you're trying to achieve. The whole idea about a toxic individual is this idea of controlling the narrative, controlling the scenario, controlling the relationship. And you see me using the same word, and that word is control. That at the end of the day, that person wants to control everything around them. Let me say that again, that a toxic person has a trait that they will control everything around them. And they want or have the desire to control everything around them, every person, every decision, every perspective, every aspect of life. They want to control it. Now, what makes them toxic is not only that they're penchant for controlling it, it's how they want to control it. In other words, the means and the methods that they use to gain that control, right? That they can be, have incessant anger. They can utilize manipulation. And we're going to talk a little bit about what those are on today. They use, emotionalism. They use dishonesty. They use deception. They have a lot of tools in their arsenal to control the situation, right? And they often want to hold everything under the thumb of their will, right? They are not partners in a relationship. They are not partners at work. They don't work well on teams. They are not a solid and upstanding men and or women of God. If they ever get into pulpit, a toxic individual will begin to teach you from the scriptures in a twisted way that will always bring back not the focus on God, but the focus on them. And they will even use the name of God, the name of Jesus, the name of Christ in order to gain power and authority. And here it is again, control over people. And whether that is a person that they intend to use for some other personal gratifications or a congregation that they will use to make sure that they skew the congregation's perception and perspective of their life and seeing them almost to a point of deity, almost as a demigod or a Jesus Jr. is what I like to call them, right? That they have no regard for the perspective of other people and the agency of others. As a matter of fact, if you stand up to or if you challenge the perceptions of a toxic individual, it's normally met with anger and violence, or it could be met on the flip side with tears and all of that. They're going to control the narrative. Yeah, they're going to control the narrative, so they will either be what? A hero or the victim. Let me say that again. That toxic people always wants to control the narrative because that's the first thing that they have to control. They want to control how it is being said, how it is being seen, how it is being documented, and they're always going to write into the story. They're going to always write into the paragraph how they were the victim, right? Even if they started it, even if they are in the wrong, even if they, first of all, they can't even see that they're in the wrong. But even if that person is the one that created the problem or the situation, the circumstances in the first place, they're never going to own up to it. They're going to either create a narrative that they're the victim, that this happened because you did this to them. And so their only reaction was to respond to you likewise, when in fact, that's not true. Or they're going to make themselves look like the hero, like you couldn't have done this, or this, the way that this thing turned around, or the way that this thing, whether the solution came because I am the hero. I am the Superman of this relationship. I am the hero of the day. And when you have to deal with toxic people, you always have to understand that your key is discernment. Your key is discernment, being able to see them and recognize it on the onset. Because the moment that a toxic person in a relationship takes root into your life, you are in danger. Let me say that again, Culture Call. Lean in closer. That the moment that people who are toxic are allowed to have any kind of place and or placement in your life, what is going to happen is that the more they stay there, the longer they stay there, they're going to get their hooks and their claws and their root system into the inner workings of your life, where you won't even no longer feel comfortable making a decision without them. As a matter of fact, you won't make a decision. Here's how you know it's toxic, without feeling or without being concerned with how they're going to perceive the decision you're making for your life. That they have to agree with you, or you have to agree with the way that they say it. You cannot even, talk and speak and create relationships outside of them. And that means all of your friends got to be approved by this person. All of your goings, you got to be approved by this person. Everything you wear has to be approved by this person. Everything you eat has to be approved by this person, right? You cannot have any other relationship stronger than the relationship that you have with them. Ma'am or sir, if you're listening to me today, if you fall in any of those categories, you just might be in a toxic relationship. Now, here's the deal. Here's the deal. The way that a toxic person functions is not, they are a lot of times highly charismatic. They're highly charismatic, or they suffer from tremendous low self-esteem. In other words, they're either going to take over or take charge of a room, which is a sign of some level of narcissism, or it's all about me, or they're going to be particularly demurred and insecure, low self-esteem, so that, not that they really have low self-esteem or insecure, but so that you can pay attention to them, so that you can be distracted from whatever you're doing and pay attention to their needs, to their emotions, to pay attention to the way that they want it, right? And they will go so as low as to manipulating your heart and manipulating your viewpoint. And not only that, but they'll start infecting people who know you to get them on their side, right? That toxic person is a tremendous underground networker. Talking here. Yeah. That person is a tremendous underground networker. That means that before they really put their fangs or their claws in you, they're already talking to your support system, or they're going around to your community to make sure, they're finding out things about you. They're finding out things about this situation, and they're skewing the point, and they're telling people their side of the story. And you don't even know that there was a story to be told. You don't even know that there was a story that's going on. Howsoever, what you do is that you make it that you're just going along in a relationship, but they're working the back rooms. They're working the text messages. They're working the DMs if you're on social media, trying to make sure that they have a support system so that when they begin to move on their behalf, that I didn't say move on your behalf, I said move on their behalf toward you, they already have a support system that you don't have. And that by the time you understand what's going on and you go back to your support system, here's how you tell if your support system is solid. If they're talking about, well, you could have done it a different way, or you should have taken consideration, such and so forth, and they start talking you on into the other person's perspective or the toxic person's perspective without even listening to you, you know that you have been you have been a person that has been allowed into a toxic setup. You have ushered yourself into a place where it is no longer safe in any of those relationships. Why? Because nobody came to you and said anything. See, when you're in a toxic situation or dealing with a toxic person, you've got to always watch. You've got to always make sure that, listen, that you watch your resources, watch your relationships, and watch your back. Let me say it again. You've got to learn how to watch your back. Right. And I was on social media early this morning on my Facebook Live. If you missed it, trust me, go ahead on, because I'm going to bring it up in the second half anyway. But nonetheless, they always want to make you feel like you are in the wrong. Oh, my God. They always want to make you feel like you are in the wrong. Let me say this one more time. They always want to make you feel like you are in the wrong by any decision that you make, by any, you didn't run it by them. You didn't see how. They always want access where they don't supposed to have it. They will always want to take charge and have authority over where you've not given it to them. Because remember, the objective of a toxic individual is control. Yeah, it is control. And now whether you are that person listening to me, I'm talking to you. Or whether you are a victim of that kind of relationship, I need you to pay attention and I need you to lean in. Hear me now, I'm going to be saying this all day long. There is nothing that you can do to change a toxic person other than leaving them alone. Uh-oh. What did you say, Al? What did you say, Bishop? What did you say, Pastor? Glad you asked. I'll say it again. There is nothing that you can do to transform a toxic person, because the whole idea is to make you feel uncomfortable so that you have to give them your power, your agency. You have to let them have, what is that? Their way in your life. Say it again. That they have to have their way in your life. And one of the things you need to understand, I think we believe that everybody can be, everybody can change. Yes, but not everybody can change with your participation. Say it again. Everybody can change, yes, but there are some people that cannot change with your participation. Your participation complicates change, because part of you is going to feel like, I'm just going to let them have their way. The moment you let them have their way, the moment they become stronger and you become weaker. Right. And so we've got to begin now to look at our lives and look at our relationships, look at our church members, look at our fraternities, look at our sororities, look at our community, and see who are those toxic people. Toxic people ain't just angry people. That's not the only trait of toxicity that we're going to talk about today. Anger is one. Yeah, anger is one, but that's not the only trait you need to look for when you're dealing with toxic people. So this entire day, we're going to spend a moment for the next 2 hours talking about how to identify toxic people, what's the levels of toxicity, what means what can it exhibit, what can these people exhibit, and not only that, but finally we're going to talk about how in the world do we get out of those relationships? How do we remove ourselves from that place of toxicity and gain agency over our own lives? Listen, this has been your centering moment, and we're just starting off on this fantastic, fabulous Friday right here on the Culture Call with L. Spencer Smith on Praise 93.3 FM. I need you to keep it right here. We've got so much more to talk about. Don't miss it.
This is the world premiere.
And family, we are back right here on the Culture Call with L. Spencer Smith, Praise 93.3 FM on this fabulous, fantastic Friday. Yeah. I hope it ain't hot, but we've been in this heat wave, so, make sure that if you can, stay inside in the cool. If you gotta go outside, put some sunscreen on. Make sure that the SPF is high enough that can handle your skin. I know you're melanated, all of that, but make sure that you protect your skin today and drink and hydrate as much as you possibly can as we navigate these heat streets here in Tuscaloosa. Listen, we are having a provocative conversation, and I want to invite you. Yeah, definitely hit me up on the app if you have it, or you can give me a call, and I start taking calls in the next hour at 205-752-4800 because I want to discuss. I want to hear from you in terms of if you're experiencing this whole trying to navigate around, or what was your experience rather in navigating around toxic traits and toxic people, right? As I said before in our opening segment, I said that, when we have toxic environmental situations that, the environment, makes us to, you have to mark it properly. You have to make sure that people, know that this is a toxic area, that you've got to put a loud sign, an orange, a neon green, a yellow sign there. You got to mark it with skull and crossbones. You got to say this is a toxic area. Don't go here. Don't fish here. Don't hunt there. Don't go walking around that, because the object is to keep people away, to keep them away. Why? Because being exposed to, toxic waste or toxic material can have a deleterious effect on an individual's life, right? And not only that, it can be communicable almost up to the point of death, and sometimes, unto that point. But what we don't do is that we don't mark toxic people or toxic relationships. We normally find that out down the road when it's too late, when our emotions and our physical being and our mental capacity has been inflicted, has been infected, and they literally change the trajectory of our entire lives because, we just don't mark them. We don't pay attention to them, right? And that's a sad state of affairs, because over the course of my life, I've seen people be affected, horribly affected by trying to navigate toxic relationships because, number one, they don't recognize the traits. Number two, they recognize them, but they think that their presence or their intimacy, their sex is going to change them. And that does not work, right? That when you give your body or your time and your proximity to a toxic individual, in their mind, in their perspective, they have won, right? You think that who you are and what you have is so God sent and so divine and heavenly that it can change anybody. But that is not the truth, right? You think that you're sunshine. Those of you who know about Harlem Nights, you think you're sunshine and that, that person is going to literally change. But if you understand it, sunshine was the toxic one. It wasn't the man that she got with. Sunshine was the toxic one because Sunshine became the person that controlled him. That man left his whole family, called the family, say, hey, tell your mama I ain't never coming back. That's toxic. Sunshine was toxic. And a lot of you think in your mind that you can be somebody else's sunshine without really recognizing the reality that, yeah, you're doing more damage by supporting them and giving them access to the prime and private areas of your life, yeah, and making certain allowances and giving them their way. Yeah, well, you call it compromise. It's not that. It's no. Because when you're always the one that's compromising, and see, the thing is that you really, really never recognize it. You really never recognize it. When you're the one that's being manipulated, you really can't recognize it until it has an effect on you that is terrible. That they've separated you from your other relationships. They're, controlling what you do, where you eat, what you wear, where you go, all these different kinds of things. Their perspective becomes your perspective. Their perception is how they begin to direct your life. And you can't tell it until you finally realize, you know what? I've lost all control. And that is because at the onset, we don't have eyes to see. We don't have the discerning factor operating in our lives. We don't have the Holy Spirit telling us and paying attention to those red flags and those checks. No, we want what we want when we want it. And we want who we want when we want them. And so by the time you really figure out that this is really what's happening in my life, guess what? It's too late. You've been infected. It's too late. You've caught the disease. It's too late. Now they're in control. And here's the problem. And see, here's what we think about toxicity. We think toxicity is somebody throwing a chair through a window and we can sit back and look back. Oh, that person has toxic anger. That person is toxic. They don't know how to handle their anger. But not all personality traits, toxic personality traits are manifest so obviously. Sometimes you just can't see it. Sometimes, see, the art of a manipulator is that you don't know that they're manipulating you. The art of a deceiver is that, guess what? You don't know it. By the time you recognize that they've deceived you, it's too late. You've lost things. You've lost opportunity. You've lost standing. You lost your peace. You lost your mind. You've lost the opportunity and the responsibility and the privilege of having what you want and having things done the way that you are designed. Right? And it's those subtle ways. It's those subtle ways that people who are toxic learn how to control a situation. And so I want to just kind of start off with kind of telling you this whole idea of toxicity really quickly. If you've been paying attention and, I know that some may not have been paying attention, but let me just illuminate all of this, some things to you. This week, and I was talking about it on my Facebook page, that this week, this young lady who we know, who's an amazing actress, a superstar, Keke Palmer, was at an Usher concert, right? Now, I know this is Praise 93, but chill out. Let's talk about it, right? So, Keke Palmer, she's, gone to the Usher concert, and she had a little risque outfit on, and Usher was singing to her. Now, and then Keke Palmer's boyfriend, of whom I still don't know who his name is because we don't know him, he gets on social media and tries to embarrass her and tries to check her and tries to, saying, but this is not, they had a baby together and this is not what I want, blah, 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 blah. And so now you brought the entire world into this whole idea of simply what, because you're home or wherever you are trying to control what's going on with your girlfriend, Keke Palmer. Now, one of the things I said on this morning is, she may have already known that, first of all, that's a toxic trait, that you would do that and put the person that you say you're in relationship on blast. And you have to do something back on that kind of level. Let me show you where the toxicity comes in. Because, Bishop, I don't see what that's toxic. I kind of agree with him. No, come closer. Here is where the toxicity came in. Is that you knew you had to do something on that kind of level to control that kind of personality. See, we grew up with Keke Palmer from Aquila and the Bee, even before that, as a child star. She was a child, I'm talking about a super child star, right? And we saw her in movies. We appreciate her. And as she grew up, she came into her her candor and all of these different kinds of things. She's come into her talent, whether that's acting, whether that's singing. She's an influencer on social media. She is what you would call a boss person on the front, in terms of how the public sees her. Right. She's always had trouble with her skin, of which she was very honest about. Trouble with tremendously bad acne. It was just sores on her face. And then she meets this guy and they have a baby together. And her hormones begin to balance and her face begins to clear up. And she starts removing herself from the ugly duckling phase to the beautiful swan phase. So she's just hitting right now her metamorphosis. She's hitting her stride in her career. She's hitting her stride in her beauty and all of the things, right? She's doing all of that now, right? And I'm telling you, part and parcel, he thinks that's because of him. Because had he not gotten her pregnant and they had this baby, she would have still been stuck with no child and this ugly skin. So it was this pregnancy. So there's some ownership issues there. Well, they have this baby together and she's with this guy, right? Who we still don't know who he is, but he gets on social media and now he's trying to check her and put her in his girlfriend's pseudo wifely place and try to embarrass her, talking about, yeah, but you're a mom now and you can't do that and blah, 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 blah. Well, here's the problem. That Usher is also a child star. If you know anything about Usher, and I know some of you good church folks know about Usher, don't do that. Don't do that. Yeah, you know about him too, right? You don't just listen to Shirley Caesar at the family reunions. You still hear Usher and things. So don't do that, right? So he's a child star. So in the entertainment industry, these people are on the same level. That Usher and Kiki are on the same level. Surely as child stars, they've interacted before, right? They could be big brother, big sister, and all that kind of stuff. But, that's Usher. Usher has been a heartthrob since he came out back in the 90s, early 90s. And now this is the 2000s. He's gotten older. He's owning his swag. She's coming into her thing. Usher's in Vegas doing a residency. He's at a concert. He's singing to her. And you home, sir, looking at her. And now your toxicity starts moving in. See, because toxic people always want to control the narrative. And again, why you couldn't wait if you are in together, why you couldn't wait until you got home to say something to her. But you couldn't do that because toxicity and control won't allow you to do that. It won't allow you to do that. You tried to adjust her from a whole different state utilizing social media. Because if a toxic person cannot have their way, or something is not according to their perspective or their perception, they will use any way to embarrass you to regain what they consider to be control. That's what you're doing, right? Now, you not her husband. Yeah, because you ain't put no ring on your finger, but you're utilizing, you're trying to assert husband privileges to a boyfriend status. Push pause right here. Let me just stop right here and get some folks corrected real straight. What you got to stop doing. I know we're in a generation that does not believe in traditional values and I don't know how traditional that is, but we don't believe in establishing covenant. We believe in establishing convenience. And we're having sex and having children and have no commitment, all of that, all these different kinds of things. And I know that seems to be passé in our generation, but let me give you some good old wisdom on this good old culture called Fabulous Fantastic Friday. You should not give anybody marital status privileges when they have not placed a ring on your finger, when there is no documentation by the state or by, heaven being a witness. You're trying to assert husband status when you ain't husband privilege, when you ain't but boyfriend status. You ain't but girlfriend status. Well, we gonna be together and we didn't have a child together. Okay. All right. Here's the next thing. Stop being with people. Yeah, I'm talking to toxic folk now. Stop being with people who everybody knows, but you can't handle the spotlight, especially when the spotlight does not include you. You cannot control people spotlight. You know what I'm saying? You cannot do it. You know, my wife is a fabulous Mary Kay national sales director. You know, and she's at the top of the company, the top 1% of a company. And when we go to Mary Kay events, I don't care how much I am bishop, pastor, whatever. I play the man that carries her bags. I play the man that drives her car. I play the man that makes sure behind the scenes her sound system works and everything works. I let her shine. Nobody ain't checking for me. They are checking for National Sales Director Patrice Moore-Smith. But because I am not a toxic individual, as they are cheering, I am cheering. Because that's what? That's my baby. That's my girl. I push her. You go ahead. Go ahead now. Go ahead. Win the awards. Let people get on the interviews. It don't bother me one bit. You know, if nobody mentions my name, why? Because I am a secure individual in a committed partnership. I am not toxic. If I was toxic, I would be sitting there in the audience mad, everybody clapping for her. She walking across the stage getting her awards, and I'd be mad. You know, men helping her down while she got a pretty gown on and all that kind of stuff, and people ignoring me, and I would be sitting there in an attitude, and I would be causing her grief. Yeah, I will be causing her grief. And now she feels like I can't really do what I need to do and be who I need to be because I got to keep him happy. I would be a toxic person. But I'm her chief supporter and her fan. Absolutely. So that when she gets over on this side, when I'm preaching around the country and my name's plastered on billboards and on flyers, or whether I'm in the music industry and my records are in stores and you can Google me and boom, there goes my face. She don't give me no stress. Not at all. She knew what she was getting when she married me, right? She knew who I was and who I was going to be while we were dating. All of those different kinds of things. See, so there ain't no toxicity there trying to control my star while it's trying to shine. This young man is trying to control these two superstars and the superstar he thinks that belongs to him. That is insecurity, people. That's the height of insecurity. And then you're going to bring all of the world to try to shame me because you want to divide. You see what I told you at the first segment? They want people to get on their side. And I read the comments. People were on their side, on his side. Well, yeah, she is a mama. She shouldn't wear that. And yeah, what do you mean? She's a superstar. That's how superstars dress. Superstars don't wear St. John. They don't wear Leslie Fade. They don't wear Casper going to the Emmys and the Oscars. What's wrong with you? This is not church. You know, out there, you know, the woman ought to have modest apparel. What are you talking about? She's going to wear things by different designers. She's going to wear things by different people. Some of them are going to be risque. Some of them are going to be elegant. Because she just did a photo shoot of some elegant wear and she was amazingly beautiful. And I didn't see him posting in there. Right? I didn't see him say anything there. Right? But sir, you ain't got no privilege to say that because she don't have a covenant with you. Right? But you try to embarrass her. And that's what sometimes toxic people try to do. When they cannot control your life, they will try to embarrass you so that you can come back into the realm of their control. I want to say that one more again. That you want them back into the realm of where you can control them. And what you say is that. And that is toxic behavior. That is a toxic relationship. Yeah. That nobody knows you, but you're creating problems for me. Because, yeah. See, some of you still surfing. You know, I had to tell sometimes some people, you know, you still surfing because you riding my wave. Sir, you riding her wave. We don't know you. But toxic people have to control the narrative and make it seem like when they are ignored or their way is not done, they try to skew the individual. Even if they say they love you, they need to skew how you look in front of people in order for them to maintain control. And that is, ma'am, sir, a toxic individual. My goodness. Yeah. So listen, this is the Culture Code with L. Spencer Smith right here on Praise 93.3. It's a great morning, but we've got a lot to talk about. Listen, 205-752-4800 or hit me up on the app and let me know what you think about today's show. Don't miss it.
This is the world premiere.
And we are back at the top of the hour right here on Praise 93.3. Yes, FM 11 a.m. and some change. Right here on the Culture Call with L. Spencer Smith. And I pray that you are having a fabulous and fantastic Friday as we cruise into the weekend. It's going to be a great weekend. I know it. And I hope that you do as well, even as we begin to prepare and to plan for a wonderful Saturday and our Sunday. Yeah, it's going to be a great weekend. Listen, we've been having a wonderful time here this morning, but if you want to, you can call me at 205-752-4800 if you want to be a part of the conversation, or definitely you can utilize the app. Yeah, you can utilize the app and you can download me some questions or some concerns that you might have. Amen. That's going to be a great day. Do you believe that? I know that is going to be something when you do that, and I can talk to you. I've got a few of them, like how do you handle a toxic person that you've been with a long time? That's a lot. How do you handle a toxic person that you've been with a long time? Well, my goodness. Now I got to watch how I answer this question because they didn't tell me if they're married or they're dating or whatever, right? They haven't given me any kind of indication of what the reality of the relationship is. But I can tell you that you probably, if you've been in it a while, you're probably not the same person that started off that you started off with in the relationship, because one of the things that toxicity does is that it does change and change you. It's designed to do that. Toxic people are designed to change and bend and contort the relationship, the person, the atmosphere into their perception, right? Because remember, as I've said, it's all about control. It is all about control. And so when you get in, when you get in a relationship with someone that is toxic, they begin to deal with you on the level of your, watch this, your vulnerable points, right? That they don't first start off, that's the subtlety of toxicity. They don't first start off as a gruff or an obvious person, because they're not trying to get you to run away. They're trying to literally find a victim. They're trying to find prey, right? They're trying to find a person that's going to allow them to do whatever they want to do. And that's something that you that if you're not aware, if you're not discerning, that's going to sneak up on you, right? And slowly but surely, they seek to chip away at, the essence of who you are, your personality. And they will start off by giving you, what they would do if they were you, or giving you suggestions perhaps that you didn't even ask for, of what you should do or what they would do, right? And it's always going to be them centered. Let me say it again. It's mainly, let me not say always. It's mainly going to be them centered. It's going to be about how they see it, what they would do, if they were you. Right? Or they're going to utilize you and make it seem like you're in power, but it's still going to be leading back up to them, because what they're never going to do is sabotage themselves, right? Even if they support you in one or two instances, it's to gain your trust. It's to gain your, in order to blind you or to veil certain things about, the reality of what's really going on. And one of the things that happen is there is a clicking moment. It's a clicking moment to where, they'll do something or they'll say something. It might be expressing an opposing opinion. It might be highly negative. It might be utilizing criticism or whatever. And you'll recognize it, because we always do. We'll recognize it. But the problem is that victims of toxic people always push it off. They always, they gaslight themselves and say, well, it ain't that bad. I can deal with it. They would just give me their opinion, when really it's never that. It's always a scheme. It's always something going on. It's always something that they say, hey, you'd be like, yeah, well, maybe I should do it this way. Maybe you are right. Maybe you are right. And they're just looking for a little bit. They're just looking for a little bit to get their venom inside of you. Not to kill you, but to get you adapted to their way and their perspective, perception of seeing things. And that's very important for you to realize and understand. And the longer you stay in it, you lose yourself. Now, by virtue that the question is asked means, and let me see if I can get right here. It means that you have come into some kind of light. You've recognized something that might be a little bit off, right? And whether it's today or you've been seeing it, it's today while you're listening to me, or you've been seeing it, but you just haven't had the platform to be able to ask that question, you've seen something. Because when you say, how do you begin to deal with or leave or depart from a toxic person that you're in relationship with for quite a while, when that question comes up, there's a check. Hear me. There's a check in your spirit. Now, here's the deal. You don't go, it ain't time for you to say nothing yet. And here's the truth. Because if they strategize to get in, you're going to have to strategize to get out. Let me say it again. If they strategized to get in, to get you into that kind of relationship, then you're going to have to use some wisdom and strategize how to get out. Yes. So it's not always snatching your hand out of the lion's mouth, snatching your hand out of the alligator's mouth, right? Because any sudden movement is going to cause them to clasp their jaws on you, right? So that's not what you want to do. So now, again, you have to be just as methodical. You have to be just as methodical and reversing the situation as they were methodical and getting you into the situation. That's important. You feel me? So you are not going to be able to just simply, get out automatically, and I hate to say that, you're not going to be able to just do that. You're going to have to be have to be strategic. That's the word. You got to be strategic on your way out, because I want you to get out being as whole as you possibly can. See, because we can get you healed. Yeah, we can definitely get you healed, but you have to make sure that you are reasoning and say, hey, I got to do this methodically, And the question I want to say is this, and this is the big question. Do you really want to get out of the toxic relationship, or are you just asking a question? Because there has to be a level of will and determination on your part to follow the strategy of exiting that relationship. Now, if you are married, and let me say that everything I just said was if you're not married, like you're just and you're dating a situation, or you're in this and or XYZ, and you're trying to figure out ways and methods to exit the situation. So I get that. And okay, so however, if you are in a marital relationship, then you got to start thinking about various levels. You got to think about not only the relational level, you got to start thinking about, are there children involved, right? Because one of the things that they're not going to want you to do is take away their children if you depart. So you got to start looking at that. Number 3, you got to look at monetary things and how many things are in terms of the economics of the family, the economics of the relationship. How are you going to deal with that? Are you one that has your own job and that you can support yourself? And that if you departed, because a lot of people, when I talk to them over the years, a lot of people stay in toxic marriages, toxic relationships, and that they get on the marital level because they're not in a position to do for themselves. Like they got in a relationship, and y'all, I know you're going to be like, this sounds really crazy, but no, hear me out. They got into a relationship, and one of the things that was said is and it normally affects women like this, that I don't want my woman to work. I want her to stay home and take care of the kids. And they present it in such a queen fashion, in such a great way, right? They present it in such a moment where you almost feel honored. My man gonna take care of me. My man gonna take care of the family, and all I got to do is have babies and take care of him, make sure his food is XYZ. And that sounds good on the face to some women, not every woman now, right? But you also have to understand what are the ramifications of a relationship like that? Because most of the time when you're in a situation like that, you don't handle the business, you don't pay no bills, and you say, ooh, but you don't know what no insurance policies, you don't know what's in the accounts, you don't know all this. No, that they ration you money. You don't have access to the accounts, how much you need to pay this bill or how much you need to go to the grocery store. And they give you that, and normally it's in cash, right? So you got to watch all of that. It sounds good. And, if you're in a marital relationship, you got to think about all of that. How viable are you as an individual that you can break free? And the sad part of the situation is I hear from a lot of women talking to them is like, I can't leave yet, Pastor. I can't get out. Why? And when they say I can't get out, they describe it as if it's a prison. They describe it as if it's something that, it's already, the relationship is already painful. But when you start looking at the economics, when you start looking at the parental situation, when you start looking at other things, you're like, they feel like they have no choice but to stay there. Yeah, that's what they feel like. They have no choice but to stay there. Now you can still reverse that. And I don't know if marital counseling, if that person agrees to marital counseling. I'm not going to say, divorce is the situation, should be your go-to, right now, because I personally, I'm not in that position. And so I definitely don't want you to hear me on the radio broadcast and blame me for doing, that's not. So I'm not saying that is your regard, but I'm saying that maybe you can get marital counseling, because obviously you didn't have premarital counseling. It doesn't sound like you did, right? And so that's important. That's important. That once you get in that kind of relationship with an individual and they are toxic and exhibiting toxic behavior, it's not so easy as to say, but I'm getting out of it. Bye. No. Especially when you're married, it's not that easy, people. It is so not that easy. And the sad thing about it is that many get caught up in relationships, and they get caught up in cycles that do nothing but exacerbate the moment. And especially when that person is toxicity reflects itself in anger and abuse. Woo, that becomes a situation, right? That becomes a situation. And so proceed with caution. Yeah, that's what I want to say. Proceed with caution. There is some help that needs to be gotten, but you got to proceed with caution. Good deal. So listen, we've been talking about this whole dealing with toxic people this morning, and I hope and pray that you're listening. I hope that you're praying and responding, and again, I think this is more because I had it planned for just a couple of days, but I'm going to take it over into next week because I think it's important, because I want to talk about dealing with toxicity in church, because now that's a whole different situation. And let me just say this as a preamble before we even get there, because I want to talk about some traits of negative, of toxic people and toxic people, toxic personalities, right? But the church is a very dangerous place to deal with toxicity because, especially in our culture, in our community, how we are taught to revere Rev. When you're dealing with a toxic leader, and how we are taught to honor our pastors and honor our leaders. Yeah, we got to talk about that, because we've got to separate the understanding of what it means to honor and respect, and when we have to make a decision because the leadership is trying to take control over something that the Bible has never given them to take control of. Yeah, that's very important. Yeah, so that's going to be a topic we're going to have to really deal with, because there are people who are sitting up in churches who know that they're under toxic leadership, but they still won't leave because they are fearful of leaving. They're fearful of departing, And as a pastor, one of the things that I've learned is from my friend Dr. Hart Ramsey. He's a major pastor in Dothan, Alabama, and now in Atlanta, Georgia. And he said, listen, you always keep yourself as a pastor free from ever having control over your people. That means when they come, they are blessed, you bless them. And when they go, you bless them. Yeah. Even if they don't leave right, even if they don't do that ain't got nothing to do with you. Don't you get to the place to where you become toxic and trying to control folks and saying, don't y'all leave and you can't go. No, absolutely not. That's not anywhere biblical and not what we are supposed to do. Yeah. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that on Monday. How about that? Right? Listen. So I want to just give you some examples of some toxic personality traits that you can write down and so that you'll know. So that you can understand these red flags, these warning signs if you get around these individuals. And these people can be, again, in your family. They can be your parents. They could be, perhaps it could be your husband and wife. God forbid, they can even be your children. They could be your coworkers. They could be your boss. It could be, again, your pastor. It could be someone, of influence in church. It could be anywhere in your school, whatever. Toxicity has no restraints. Those kinds of people and those kinds of personalities are in every place. But you've got to be mindful, right? Mindful. Okay, so let's start the list. Number one, one of the main characteristics of a toxic personality is that they will function in negativity. Negativity. A person with negativity may see the world as cold, cruel, and evil. And they frequently complain. They ruin fun. They ruin joyous moments, or they dampen people's spirits, with defeated comments and a defeated attitude. That's a toxic person. They're the kind of people that no matter how bright the sun is shining, they're going to find a rain cloud somewhere. They're going to come with some kind of negativity. If you give them good information, they're going to rain on it, and it's going to be negative. Because the objective is, if I can't be happy, nobody's going to be happy, right? And even they can't even see the good thing or the positive things that happen in their own lives, right? I know y'all don't know nobody like that, right? But it's always negative. They're always sick. Something always wrong with them. Are you serious? Something's always going wrong. Something always hurt their heart. Somebody always did them wrong. It ain't no way it can be that good. You tell them about a good thing that happened on the job, you better watch it because you know how people are. They're gonna always spin it and bring something negative out of it. Yeah. That is a toxic individual. You cannot submit your joy to a toxic individual. Say it again. You cannot submit your joy to a toxic individual who functions in negativity. Yeah. You can't invite them to no party because they're going to dampen the whole party. It's like you talking about your future and they talking about your funeral when you die. I mean, they are just negative Nancy. Negative Ned. That's exactly what they are. And that person is toxic because that means they don't want to have joy or anyone to have joy, success, victory in any situation. They don't want you to see your life advancing. They want you to develop a defeated mentality like they have. They'll complain about everything. They're some of the worst people to go to dinner with or go to a restaurant with. My goodness, because the food ain't gonna never be good. The waiter, the waitress ain't gonna never do good. It's always gonna cost too much. They bring out the food, they're gonna always send it back because they're gonna always find something wrong with it. Too much salt, not enough salt. Those kind of people. That's a toxic individual. I'm talking about everywhere they go, right? No, what you need to do is leave them home. Go out and enjoy themselves, right? When you want grief, when you want despair and agony on you, then you call them. And I doubt that you ever want that. But yeah, they show themselves. Negativity is a toxic personality trait. Here's another one. Judgmentalness. My goodness, they judge situations, judge people, events without any experience. I mean, you talking about a whole lot of stuff. Wait a minute. Why you don't even have an experience. You haven't ever had an encounter. They're always judging it. Always. You'll take them somewhere and they'll say, that person can't sing. You can't sing. I heard you tone deaf. What are you talking about? I can't sing. What are you saying? Yeah. I mean, that's the reality. That's the facts of the matter, is that they don't want anybody to be, they can't see anybody doing anything and not have something critical and judgmental to say about it. You know, his pants too tight, her dress too short, she too black, he too white. I mean, your hair ain't this, and I don't like this. I mean, they judgmental. And can you do my hair? Ooh, this food don't taste good. But can you cook? Can you go in the kitchen and make it better? But no, I can't cook at all. What? He's right. And we let people get away with that. We don't say nothing about that. You know, we just let them be. That's just them. No, I don't want to hear from you. You don't have no kind of experience and you're judging it. Right? People who ain't got no kids. If they were my kids, I would do something. What? Do you have children? No, I ain't never had a child. Well, how do you know? Folks got upset the other day. You know, folks got upset the other day or the other week when Bishop Jake's like, yo, hey, you're a single mom and you're trying to tell me how to be a father, who my wife and I have raised four children. And now here it is, you trying to tell me, 5 actually, and now you're trying to tell me how to be a father. He was like, hush your mouth. How you going to tell me how to be a father? You've never been one. You've been an excellent mother, and you've had to do way more than you've had to do by yourself. But what you are not is a father. What you are not is a father. I know we try to make people feel good, but if we're going to tell the truth, you are not a father. No. There's specific nuances, societal, biblical, relational nuances that men bring to the table. Right? And just because you've not been successful in having a man, in terms of a family, you can't now become, well, I've been mama and I've been daddy. And I know that's how we say that. I understand why we say that. So I'm not negating the fact. But the truth of the matter is you can't tell a father who is a male exactly who has stayed and raised his children how to be a father. You cannot, because you don't have that experience. And yet you're judging people. Yeah. Yeah, you're judging people. So here's another one. That's another toxic personality trait. Here's another one: dishonesty. Their dishonesty they'll lie or they'll mislead others. They're dishonest. Because the act of lying is a choice. Here's where it gets bad. That the act of lying is a choice, because you could tell the truth. But when you function in dishonesty, it's the tendency to lie. It's that whole thing. You'll use a part of the truth, but you'll be dishonest, and and sometimes it's a coping mechanism, but you're not honest. And when you're dealing with dishonest people, that's a toxic person, because they're building reality. See, reality is built off of the expression of language. It's what we say, right? That worlds are created by the language and the words that we use, right? And so when you're dealing with a dishonest person, they are creating a world that really does not exist. They are creating, watch this, an alternate reality. They are creating something, they're creating something that you can't really build on, because it's really not the truth. Right? They're telling you that they love you because because they want some. They're telling you that, because they want something from you. They want to control something about you. So they're saying what you need to hear, or what they think you want to hear, and they're being dishonest. They're being dishonest about their past, dishonest about their present. They're being dishonest about the facts of a situation. It's always going to be skewed to what they think you want to hear, or the world that they wish they had that really does not exist. And here it is, you're trying to build something with them, but that dishonesty, what you're going to find out is that you're going to try to lay down a foundation in that thing, and it ain't going to stand. Why? Because that person was functioning in dishonesty, and dishonesty is a toxic trait. Have you ever been around somebody who just can't tell the truth? I'm talking about over the simple things. That they lie about the simple things. Saints and different ones, right? They lie about the simple things. And you're sitting there like, man, you could have just told me the truth. You could have just said what he was, and I could have been done with it, or we could have worked through this together. But you fed me a web of lies, and now what am I supposed to do? Because none of this is existing, none of this is real, and so what are we supposed to do, right? So another toxic trait is a dishonesty. A dishonest toxic personality is always going to function in dishonesty. Here's another one, number 4, rigidness. Rigidness. What is rigidness? What is rigidness, Bishop? I'll tell you what it is. Rigidness is when that person is super stubborn, inflexible, and unable to adapt to things when they don't go as planned, right? When it's not their way, when it's not the way that they see it. It's that person that, I'm not going to do that. And I deal with this, I had to deal with this in church, folks. The ushers at the door, and they say, would you sit here? And that person said, but no, I don't want to sit here. And I want to sit over there with Roosevelt. I want to sit over there in my seat. But what my seat? But now, we always did it this way. I don't feel like changing. I think we ought to sing this song. Right? And this person normally cuts up and shows out. You say stand up, and they sit down because they want the attraction of that. You can't control them, but they're going to control the environment by sitting down. You say stand up, we're going to walk around for offering. Here you go. You're going to sit down. I'm going to show him. I'm going to sit down right where I am. I'm going to show her. I'm going to do what I want to do. That person is so rigid. You're trying to change things and make it better, but how come we got that's a toxic person. That is toxic personality. Call a thing a thing. It's toxicity, y'all. That person is rigid. It's got to be their way or no way. Yeah, right. And so, I have to have meetings with the ushers and the hospitality. And that's one of the first things. How do we get people? Because they come every Sunday. And they do what they want to do. And they act like we don't even exist. Now, I'm the kind of person. I'm the kind of one. I am confrontational in that regard. Now, I am. Because what you're not going to do is disrespect the people who are the doorkeepers in the house. You're not going to do that. We're going to learn how to be flexible, and we're going to learn how to be responsive. We're going to learn how to be obedient. We're going to learn how to submit to instructions and all of that kind of stuff. Yeah, but what you're not going to do is just come here with your obstinance and your rigidness and disrespect, because that's a toxic person. Yeah. They don't sign me up in the Christian Jubilee. Now you mad. Now you mad, and you calling everybody on the phone saying, I see they don't sing my song. What kind of song? What are you talking about? Hilarious. Yeah, I'm talking about this. That's toxic rigidness. Yeah, when it don't go as planned, you gonna stick with the plan, and you going down with the ship. And not only that, not only are you going down, you expect other people to sink down with you. That's a toxic personality. Listen, I got more to go, but I need you to keep it here, right on the Culture Call with L. Spencer Smith on Praise 93.3 FM. It's a beautiful day. I got more to say to you. Keep it right here. Don't miss it.
This is the world premiere.
And we are back right here on the Culture Call with L. Spencer Smith, Praise 93.3 FM. And we are having a marvelous day, a marvelous conversation. Provocative, controversial. I know it is, as we've been talking about, dealing with toxic people. Yeah, dealing with toxic people. And here's the reality. Is that each and every one of us will have to deal in some sort and in some facet with toxicity and relationships, people and personalities in our lives. It's you can't get around it. Because people show up differently. People come and have different perspectives and different perceptions. And I get that. I think we run a dangerous feature when you are not allowed, or when you don't allow others to have their perspective, their own perspective, their own perceptions, their own courage of their convictions, and how to attend unto their own agency. I think that's a terrible thing when you got to be so much in control that the other person feels like you've got to take away their will. They've got to become your robot, right? They've got to see the world through your eyes. Well, you already see the world through your eyes. They've got to see the world, obligate themselves to do things like you want them done. Guess what? You already do it how you want it done. It's when we begin to inflict and invoke that kind of attitude on other people to do what we want them to do, and that's where I think we run into a tremendous problem of getting people to understand that toxic personality and toxic character traits are not something that we should be lauding and applauding. That if you fall in that particular category, then you need to make sure that you get some help. Now, hear me, because I am never going to be that person that sends anybody to a devil's hell or wherever, cast you into utter darkness and say that ain't no help for you. But the reality is that you've got to, if you're a toxic personality, you've got to acknowledge that about yourself. Because obviously other people telling you that you are toxic or that you are one that, we got to be very careful how we hang around or be in relationship with or becoming intimate with. Other people telling you that hasn't worked yet. And it doesn't work yet. Because guess what? You can't help an individual that has an issue on any kind of level if they do not recognize that they have those issues themselves. I think that's very important. That there has to be one of the things that a toxic person lacks. You ready for this one? Is self-awareness. That if the individual is not aware, is not cogent about themselves, if they're not cognitive, not using some cognitive understanding and not really, focusing on what's going on with me, then you attempting to help them is really of no use. It's superfluous. It's not, nothing you're going to do is work. You can't love them out of toxicity. You cannot coddle them. It's not enough ways you can give them. You can't just continue to surrender your will and thinking that, if I do what they want me to do, if I say what they want me to say, if I go where they want me to go, if I don't go if I give them total control of the situation, it's going to make them better. No, because that kind of personality feeds off of control. Yeah, that kind of personality feeds off of control. It feeds off of the whole idea that it's either they have a view of the world, and whether that is from emotionally, whether that's mentally, they comprehend the world from the context of control and manipulation. Let me say that again. They comprehend the world from the aspect of control and manipulation. It's all about them being in charge. And that's the kind of person you just can't help because you want to help them, right? That you're in love with them and I just want them to be better. You wanting them to be better does not mean that they will ever become better, because that's not the root, that's not the source of their lives. They're not living on their lives on that kind of frequency. Let me say that again. They're not living their lives on that kind of frequency, on that kind of level. It has to be their way. And listen, it stems from such a great insecurity. It stems from that. One of the things I think is so very important is that and I'm going to talk a little bit about this next week, the support that kind of personality receives, because that personality receives that support because, or they look for that kind of support because the people around them do not understand what the root issue is. See, here's the point. A toxic individual can say right things. Let me say it again, that they can say things that have a point. They got a point with that. Yeah, they kind of got a point with that, right? But it is the motive It is the motive. And if you track their lives, you will see that, again, the toxic people can be very articulate. I told you they can be very intelligent. They know how to talk, all of that. That's a part of the spectrum, right? They know how to put words together, right? But their motive is control. Their motives is to make sure that they become the subject matter of the whole idea, you know? And I started off, you know, a part of the show talking about the whole issue of Keke Palmer and her boyfriend. And, you know, I begin to read around it, resource it, because I'm always going to research it before I bring it to you. So you'll be able to stand on at least what is the truth. And the fact of the matter is there are a lot of people that, you know, support him. And they're saying, okay, here's the deal. I can see what he's saying. I can see, you know, what she had on. I can see this in X, Y, Z and ABC, right? And but you're negating the prime fact. You're negating the root. See, I told you that people will pick and eat the fruit of a tree that has a destructive root that's rooted in toxic waste and toxic fertilizer. Well, it's producing the fruit. No, here's the issue. It's not just what you say. It is awareness. It's awareness. See, that's the problem. Because toxic people don't have that level of awareness. And not only do not toxic people have it, but the people that support toxic people also don't have the level of awareness, because they know how to say certain things, but their motive is bad, right? See, we all know that she's a mother. We all know that. We all know that, you know, I'm a man trying to build a family, blah, 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 XYZ, ABC. Okay, good deal. I get all that. And see, on the face, don't that sound right? On the face, that sounds absolutely correct. Right? Okay, but the problem with that is, here is the problem. Because you got a whole lot of people that, I don't see nothing wrong with what he said, because I kind of agree. Okay, first of all, you're not even looking at place, time, facet. You're not looking at the moment. You're not looking at any of that. You have to assume certain things. You have to assume certain things, right? You have to assume certain ideas. You have to assume certain conversations have already been had. You have to assume that, you know, her intentions were to play herself down. You have to assume that. And again, you know, oh my goodness, I can't wait till next week, because normally church folk do that. They don't see the whole ramifications. Oh, yeah. And see, because again, we so busy trying to pick sides, but sometimes it ain't even the side. It's the motive behind what was said. That's where the toxicity dwells. That's where it dwells. Because nobody is saying, yeah, she might have done this in XYZ, or she might not have fallen in the lines of relationship because she wore this, or because of how Usher was looking at her, which has absolutely nothing to do with her, right? That because Usher was looking like he wanted to look. Listen, I mean, you could say all of that, but the issue is, that's how you going to play this, though. The issue is you taking it and bringing the world into the situation so that you could get people on your side. Because what a toxic person knows is that somebody is going to be on their side. Facts. Facts. They know that somebody is not going to do the work of intrinsic and forensic, motive investigation to look to see, yeah. But if she came home, couldn't this been a conversation that had just been between you and her? Couldn't that had that been a situation? Couldn't you have just, you know, she's Keke Palmer, he's Usher. They're on this level of fame and stardom, and they're all on that. Couldn't you could have said nothing and waited till she got to the house and said, hey, babe, let me talk to you about something. You know, you did look good, but let me just say this. XYZ ABC, right? And then she could have said, well, in private, because she could have blew all this up yesterday. She could have. But obviously she respects him and loves the man. See, that's what you're missing. Look at her response. She could have said like, oh, okay, well, you can have that kind of say when you give me a ring. And she could have ended the entire conversation. She could have stepped into her superstardom and buoyed him back into a place. I mean, for real. That is absolutely true. She could have done that because she has that kind of level, but she didn't. So you could have afforded the opportunity to respect the whole idea that, hey, she been a mom all of these months. She's been looking great all of these months. See, so was it the fact that what she had on, or was it the fact that there was a clip, a short clip that somebody stopped and made a photo? It was a video. They made a photo, and you saw this other man looking at her in a situation. Was she supposed to get ugly? Was she supposed to not be attractive? What did you think was going to happen? And why is your thought so very negative about her? And why are you not secure about what you have? See, again, I'm telling you that the toxic person knows that if I put it in public, it's all about to get support from my perspective, because part of toxicity is making sure, you're ready for this? Making sure that I control the narrative. I got to control what is being said, how it is being said, when it is being said. I can't look bad in front of whoever is looking. Because my boys looking, because everybody know I'm dating her. Everybody around me know I'm dating her. So I got to assert myself. Yeah, I got to assert myself in certain things, And again, it's that level there. See, but a lot of the problem is people who don't understand that. They don't know how to say, let me mind my own business, and my perception doesn't matter in this situation. I'm not going to weigh in so heavily on this because I really don't know the dynamic of the relationship. All I know is here is X, Y, Z, A, B, C. Right? And that's important. And somebody might be saying, well, you talking about it? Absolutely. Because I'm on the radio. Because I need to bring it to your attention. And I need to tell you, I'm not saying that what he's saying, all the things he's saying is absolutely incorrect. Absolutely not. I talked to my daughter about it last night. and I was like, what he's saying is not incorrect. But here is the problem. Here is the problem. Here is why it is toxic. It is because you brought the entire world, her fans and everybody else, onlookers, into that moment. And you didn't protect her and shield her and your relationship, and that's what makes it toxic. Listen, this is L. Spencer Smith right here on The Culture Call on Praise 93.3 FM. Listen, we got something to do almost at the end of this show. Got a little bit more to talk about. Don't miss it.
This is a world premiere.
Well, family, it's been an amazing day right here on The Culture Call with L. Spencer Smith. And we're wrapping it up for this week on this beautiful, fantastic, fantabulous Friday. Yeah, right here on Praise 93.3 FM. Listen, I'm going to have to continue this conversation next week, so I need you to meet me right back here on Monday. That's right, from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m., we're going to be rocking it out together as we continue to talk about this whole issue of toxic people and how to handle it, how to deal with them, because guess what? They're all around us. Part of what we do in life is that we have to learn how to navigate even situations that we don't want to deal with. We got to learn how to, move in a certain fashion to where people feel comfortable being who they are without feeling controlled. Now, I think part of what we need to talk about is the difference between control and submission. I was teaching on the other night about obedience, and I told them obedience is not control by commandment. It is submission to a strategy. That whenever we talk about obedience, we're always talking about that there is a system or a strategy to cause us to arrive at a certain end. It's not about controlling. And we are not given to control people. We're not given to control their actions. We're not given to control their perspective. We're not given to control their gifts, their talents, and what they do and what they cannot do. But we are to help each other become the best people that we can be. Yes, sometimes they're going to listen to advice, and some they're not going to listen to advice. Yeah, but guess what? It's advice. Especially when you're dealing with adults. I can understand relationships of parents to child and teacher to student. Yeah, I understand when authority and things of that nature is in the mix. But as it relates to those of us who are peers, those of us who are in relationships, it's not a do as I say. It's not I'm telling you what to do. No. No, it's advice. It's the intimacy created through communication that always just wants the best to happen to that individual and for that individual. It is no level of toxicity because what I give, I can receive. If I'm giving advice, I can receive it. If I'm giving communication, I can receive it because I want you to be the best you and I want you to be, and I want to be the best me. Yeah, absolutely. Listen, on this Friday, y'all stay cool, stay hydrated. They say there's going to, it's going to be a mixture of heat and rain, and that humidity is going to wear us out. Don't let it. Stay hydrated, stay in the air condition, and enjoy yourself. At the end of every phone call, I say it all the time. My grandmama and my mama used to say, I love you a bushel, I love you a peck, and I love you a hug around the neck. Listen, this is L. Spencer Smith signing off for this week. Have a fantastic Friday and a fantastic weekend. Until Monday, peace.